One of the things that really drew me to the company is I've been a fan of Deadliest Catch forever. When you see them throw out those crab pots and throw out the buoys that go with, our buoys are the only ones that they trust with their equipment. And I am just so proud to be a part of the company that makes that product and that people have that much trust in.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer Podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing in the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Master Captain Angie Scott.
Welcome back to the Woman Angler and Adventurer Podcast. I'm your host, Angie Scott. We are sitting on the houseboat today. We've done a little bit of upgrading to the outside, and I'm doing some video, so I'll be sharing that with y'all soon. But I'm really excited to welcome my special guest, Barb Foss from Polyform US. Barb, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we went for a little boat ride on Percy Priest Lake and had a little lunch. Yep. And now we're going to talk about Polyform. And so you're the recreational marine sales manager for North America.
That's a mouthful, but yes, that's what I do. I do sales, mostly business to business sales, and it's basically selling to dealers that then sell to the end consumer.
Okay, so let's start by just kind of talking a little bit about Polyform. Give us just an overview background of the company and kind of what makes it unique.
Yeah. So Polyform US is actually one of the very few family-owned businesses in the marine industry. There's been a lot of consolidation and mergers and acquisitions, and we've been able to stay away from it all, so to speak. And the original owner is the father of the current owner. We are second generation here in the US. The original owner, Knut is his name, and he actually invented the inflatable buoy for the Norwegian fishermen. They were in an area called Ashland, I think is how I'm pronouncing it correctly. But it's Ashland, Norway, and it's a major, Norway in general is a major fishing market. But back in the 50s, they were using glass and canvas tied up and a whole bunch of other things as buoys to mark their fishing lines and their fishing nets. And they needed something else. Actually, Knut is an engineer and is focused in plastics, and decided he was going to create this plastic buoy to fill the needs of the fishermen there in that marketplace. And they developed this. It turned out to work so well that they got, bombarded with orders and needs and wants, and it basically replaced everything else in the marketplace out there. Once they did get bombarded with this, it was coming from all over the world, actually, the need and the demand. And so they decided to move to the U.S. or take an arm and move that to the U.S. And Knut moved to the U.S. with his family. And they found basically the Pacific Northwest, Seattle area is where we're based now, as being a very comparable market to what was in Norway. And so that's why they set up there initially. It felt very close to home for them from the Norwegian roots. And as a result of that, have now established a full business here in the U.S. They have since, back in the 70s, actually split ties with Norway. So anything that's going on in Norway is completely separate from what we're doing here in the U.S. But Knut is the original owner. His son now has taken over the business. And we continue to maintain and have been here in the U.S. now for over 40 years.
Wow. Well, it's pretty cool that he invented the inflatable buoy, because now that's all.
That's all there is.
That's all we know. Yeah. I didn't even know there were other things that people used. I never really thought about it.
Yeah.
Anybody who buys a boat who wants to protect their vessel, you want to make sure you've got some good fenders or buoys or whatever you need for your type of a vessel. And I never really thought about the history
exactly.
of it all. So
yeah.
really
well,
cool.
back in the 50s, plastics were just becoming a thing. And so,
that's true.
So that's the other piece of it too. It's like, it's a whole new industry and invention at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there for, the buoys were the original piece. That's actually why our A series is called A series, because it was the first one. And so it's an A is the beginning of the alphabet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the buoy was there. It was there for fishermen. It was more about marking and keeping buoyant things back in the fishing world than it was less about protection.
Right.
And then having that A series then and those buoys out there then led to fenders and all the other products that we have now available.
Gotcha. Very cool.
So one thing I think, when people think about protecting their boats, which are a huge investment these days especially, something that I think goes unnoticed is your fenders that you use to protect the boats, because, I know when I've bought boats in the past, I just run into whatever big box store or whatever, grab a couple fenders and go on with my day. But I don't, haven't really ever thought much about everything that goes into it and the quality and the importance of that, because our boats are huge investments. So can you talk a little bit about that and what kind of sets Polyform apart?
Exactly. No. So yeah, boats themselves are very expensive these days, and paint jobs are in specifically very, very expensive. So whether you're protecting it against a dock, or whether you're, a dock where you're loading up gas, or whether you're rafting and protecting it from another boat that's out there in the water, there's a lot of different opportunities for boats to get damaged, and fenders and buoys can help that a lot. As I mentioned before, our products are made in the USA and made from plastic. Well, that plastic is not just, any plastic, because there's tons out there. We're referring to specifically PVC. And our mix, even PVC, there's multiple different ones out there, but our mix is soft and flexible. It's not brittle, so it's not going to break kind of when things get compressed. So the opportunity is, making sure that something's strong and durable, but still flexible, so that when you do put boats against each other or boats against a dock, you're not going to hit that other object. And we make everything in our factory for our specific mix. And in fact, we make everything in our factory in Kent, Washington, that makes the fenders and buoys that you see in the stores. So we make the molds and the machines that make our products. We mix the actual plastic PVC mix. We actually even mix our own colors, and those get added into the mix so that color vibrancy is all the way through the product. We have complete control over our manufacturing process because of this. And as a result, we have less than 1% defect rate. And that is amazing. So that once you buy that product, you're not going to have to worry about it. You can trust that it's going to do the job that you needed it to do. And in fact, speaking of trust, that product is one of the things that I'm still relatively new with the company. I've been with the company for about 5 years. But one of the things that really drew me to the company is I've been a fan of Deadliest Catch forever. And as you see all those fishermen, the crab guys out there in the Bering Sea, and all the temperatures and all the variations of sea conditions. And one of the things that I learned early on, and I was just ecstatic to share, is the fact that those major conditions and those extreme conditions that are going on in the Bering Sea, and those fishermen with their crab pots and all of their equipment and that load, I mean, the crab load is quite a pricey load, is that when you see them throw out those crab pots and throw out the buoys that go with, our buoys are the only ones that they trust with their equipment. And I am just so proud to be a part of the company that makes that product and that people have that much trust in.
Yeah, that's very cool. It kind of full circle. I actually had Linda Greenlaw on, who is one of the female captains on a season or two of Deadliest Catch earlier in this season of the podcast. So yeah, definitely a big fan of the show. I know a lot of listeners are as well. So that's really cool to know that when you see them tossing those crab pots over or retrieving them, that those buoys you see are Polyform, and definitely speaks volumes that's what they trust, because like you said, I mean, the pots themselves without crabs in them are a huge investment. And then, that's their livelihood right there. So the fact that they trust that is speaks volumes for sure.
Yeah. No other product is used up there, and it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. And you mentioned, mixing your own colors in house. Let's talk a little bit about the colors, because, most of the time you go to a store and buy some fenders, your options might be black, white, and blue, maybe, are usually, I think, what I've seen. But Polyform has a lot of different options for that.
Yeah, we have over 20 different color varieties, and it's amazing. People want to match their boat. They want to support their NFL team, or show the colors of the college that they went to. There's a whole number of reasons why people might want color. I mean, boating is fun. Let's show your fun side with fenders. It's kind of just an easy way to designate your boat from somebody else's. But because we make so many colors, there is a color for everyone. And in fact, one of the most recent colors that we introduced was graphite. And it's kind of our new neutral, so to speak. And it matches really well with a lot of those gunmetal and charcoal boats that are out there in the marketplace right now.
Yeah, that's the one I went with for the Crestliner, the MX-19, and we've got like that flat gray wrap on the boat with our black logos and things like that. And so I was just going to go with black, and then you pointed out that charcoal fender, and I was like, ooh, yeah, and I love how that looks, and it's something different,
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of fun. It's like let people have fun. It's not a permanent thing, and while they're not cheap to actually put on your boat, they're still have some fun with it, and you can swap them out if you don't like a color, add a different color, all of that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a fun thing, and like I said, in the end, it's all about protection for your boat. But why not have fun with it?
Yeah, and if you're the only boat in the marina that has bright green fenders and you lose one, everybody's going to know who it belongs to.
Exactly.
And the other thing I didn't think about, if you're out on the lake somewhere and you're trying to meet up with somebody, you can say, hey, just look for the boat with the bright green fenders or whatever color it might be. So
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
One other advantage.
I love it.
Want to learn about fishing, hunting, and outdoor gear from fellow experienced outdoor women, as well as get inspired to try something new in the outdoors? Then subscribe to Adventurous, the only women's hunting and fishing magazine. Adventurous is a high-quality print magazine that receives rave reviews, and it also makes a great gift for other outdoor women and youth. Subscribe at Adventurous Magazine and use code WOMANANGLER for 15% off.
So Polyform's got the largest variety of colors out there. We also have the largest variety of sizes. And one of the things that I laugh about is like we have the commercial grade F series fenders that are great for yachts, and the Coast Guard uses them, and all kinds of other folks. But we have one that's over 6 foot tall or long, however you want to look at it. And then we have others that are our little, our G series is actually our utility series that most people are probably familiar with. And we have one that is just basically a 15 inches long, and it's basically a dog toy. So it's like you go, it's also for personal watercraft. But again, it's the opportunity of just full range of size, and then you can put any of those colors on any of those sizes. So you could make a really big statement, or you can go neutral and stick with the black and the white the way other folks do.
Yeah, and what I love, so I've got a 66-foot Somerset houseboat, and we'll be putting a video out soon. But it being such a large boat, it's like, how do you know what size fender I need? And that's what I love about Polyform and the website. There's great resources on the website. It makes it very easy to go and look and see exactly what size is recommended. You even have a line size recommendation. So, that was the other thing. You have to have a way to secure the fenders to your boat. So you need to get some good lines. And so on our boat, we've, one side of it is up against the dock all the time. And so we went with the HTM series fenders for that side. And then we've got the front of the boat that sits, up against the walkway. And so we went with those A-series buoys, and that's just perfect to protect the front of the boat. And then we've got the side that usually doesn't touch anything, but we've got some fenders over there as well. I believe those are the F series.
Those are the F series,
yes.
yeah.
And the F series you can actually hang vertically or horizontally based on what you need to do. And that side, we just kind of have them there. So if we do raft up with another boat, we've got fenders out and ready to go. So.
So most of our products can be hung either vertically or horizontally. Again, it depends on kind of your mooring situation and or your preference. If you've got a longer hull, you may want to go vertical. If you're in a situation where you're kind of rolling against a pylon, you might want to go horizontal with an HTM. Mm-hmm. And HTM, by the way, that HTM stands for hole through middle. Mm-hmm. So in case if anybody ever needs that. And while we're talking about that, you hang yours HTMs vertically, mm-hmm. which means when you were looking at lines, just to kind of remind people, you're going to need to make sure your line not only covers the extent of the length that you want to drop it from, mm-hmm. but also that makes sure that you're taking into account the length of the actual fender itself, mm-hmm. because the line goes all the way through and you need to make sure you've got enough to go through.
Yeah. And you just tie a knot at the bottom and then that secures the line, and the fender's not going to fall off. So,
yes, exactly. Yeah. And then you brought up the buoys in the front of your boat. Mm-hmm. And the buoys in the front of the boat are great because one, you've got that angle on the bow, mm-hmm. so that buoy fills the whole front of that space and really protects the entire front section of the boat. The other option is that if you have a tapered bow, that you can use fenders kind of in the corners as you're pulling into a slip, that you sometimes will have that open space in the front corners, and you can use buoys there to fill the space more, mm-hmm. and again, protect the boat differently. And then also when and I'm sorry, I'm like totally rambling here, but also when you are rafting and you want to, you're tying up with another boat, that's what we call rafting. And you know that, but just make sure everybody else does out mm-hmm. there. And wanting to make sure that not only do you have protection between the boats, but having a buoy actually gives you a little bit more standoff between the boats, so that if you do get a wave and the boats start rocking, you're not going to actually have them, overlap and clink, so mm-hmm. to speak.
Yeah, I had that happen once. Unfortunately, we were tied up in a cove with, I had a Tri-Tune, and we were tied up to like a Gibson style houseboat. And some old guy came back in there pulling some people on a tube and totally waked us. And of course, we were all yelling at him and everything, but he didn't care. He felt like we needed to be in Party Cove if we were wanting to tie up. So anyways, wow. But yeah, the front of my Tri-Tune came up so high that it hit the front deck of the Gibson and totally bent that corner plate. I had to get a new one. And, but yeah, if we had, the the buoys instead of the fenders, with a little more distance between us, then that probably wouldn't have happened. So that's a good point.
Yeah, just something to think about for people. And like I said, we make a lot of different products for a lot of different applications, and the size matters in when it comes to protection for your boat. And so you need to make sure, like as you referenced our website, there's all kinds of information based on your boat size, based on your mooring conditions, which product is best for your application. And then also look at the details on the product as well, because the rope hold, the eye of the rope hold is different dimensions for different size products and different products, so that you want to make sure the line that you want to use can actually fit through the eye hole that you have too.
And that website's polyformus.com.
Correct.
So just to make sure everybody knows where to go to check all that out.
Yes.
Let's talk about, we talked about the protection and all that, but let's talk about some of the features that make these buoys such high quality and fenders. And I know, when I got mine, some of them came already inflated, and then the A series we had to inflate. And so that's unique as well.
Yes. So let's start with the different elements of the product. All of our products are one-piece construction. And that is really important. And it goes to that less than 1% defect rate too, because there is no weak point in any of our products. We have a very unique manufacturing process, and it actually creates a very even wall thickness throughout the buoy. So not only is it one piece, but it also is one dimension all the way around. So again, there's just no weak points in our products. The other thing is that our rope holds are reinforced. So the A series and the F series are both commercial grade, and their rope holds are actually solid, because again, they're in more heavy duty situations. A lot of times you're using a thicker rope, and so you really need that solid rope hold there. With our G series, while it's not solid through there, because again, it's not really used, it's more a utility fender and it's used in more just fun recreational applications, we do have a reinforced rope hold, even though it's not solid.
Gotcha.
The other thing that the G offers up is that the Gs and the HTMs, and you'll notice on the ones that you have, is that they have ribs. And those ribs are there for a couple of different things. One, they help with abrasion resistance. So particularly when they're rolling or just up against any object, flat or otherwise. And two, they also add additional strength for products that are lighter weight than, say, the F series or the A series.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of a really cool thing there too. You mentioned the inflation process, and our inflation process is different and it's unique. We've been using the same valve system for over 50 years. Obviously it works.
Yeah.
Couldn't be doing that, right? So our valve is inset into the product. It has a flap at the very bottom of it that you normally wouldn't see, because that's the part that's inside the fender or buoy. But it has a larger opening than what you would think. You never want to use like a bicycle needle pump to fill our products, because you don't want to puncture that flap at the bottom. So any tapered nozzle will work. We actually have an inflation adapter that people can get if they are so inclined to, but you don't necessarily need it. You just basically need any tapered nozzle that you can put on a compressor or a hand pump or whatever, and just cover the full opening of the valve and inflate it to about 2 psi if you're doing a compressor. Or another good gauge is just once you can push into the fender about 1/4 of an inch, because you don't want it fully solid rock hard. You want it to be able to give a little bit. And so you just want to go a little bit there. The other thing is if you overinflate, you're also going to thin out the material. And again, you're not going to have the protection that you want. So overinflation is not a good thing. You want to make sure you've got it inflated correctly. Give it a little give and go from there. So once you get that done, you can take the compressor, the nozzle, whatever, out of the valve. That flap on the bottom of the valve will actually give you a little bit of time to then input the screw that we come. And you want to just make sure that screw is in flat and even with the product itself, or with the edge of the product. And the screw is threaded. The valve is threaded, and with that system, it maintains better inflation longer. And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like for me, when we're not here for several months out of the year, I don't have to worry about, if my fenders have gone flat or if my boat's still properly protected, if a storm should come up or something like that. So, yeah, that's really, really great to know. And I know there's some resources on the website, videos and stuff that if you, want to kind of see what we're talking about, you can go and see that being demonstrated. But it's really easy. And so we mentioned the website. If, somebody wants to go to their local dealer and check out some of these products firsthand, see it in person and get the right size and whatnot, that's an option as well, right?
Exactly. Yes. Our marine dealers are our best resources for information and are really knowledgeable about what kind of products you need for your boats. We typically have our boat guide at a lot of those dealers so that you can, again, look to see and work with somebody to say, okay, this is my boat, this is my conditions. And so therefore, this is what I think I should be buying because it matters. And you want to make sure that you have the right product for the right application.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, fantastic. Barb, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing all this valuable information about Polyform US and the amazing products. Hopefully our listeners, will kind of give it a second thought next time you're in the market for some fenders or buoys to protect your boat and consider Polyform and the high quality and all the advantages and features in being made here in the US. That's important to a lot of people these days. So it's been just great having you on, and thanks again.
Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.